Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Owner Management Live Workshop training. So to start us off today, just a word of warning that we are recording today's session. So if you get disconnected at any point, you can come back to the exact same URL that you're on now, and you can watch the recording back. Don't worry. If you have any issues with audio or not being able to see the screen at any point, just go ahead and refresh the browser, and you should be able to fix that problem. But without further ado, I'm going to quickly scan up our disclaimer, as we always have to do, and then I'm going to hand over to Emily and Brandon, who will be leading today's presentation. Emily.
Thanks, Miles. Hey, everybody. I am Emily. If you haven't met me on one of our town halls or in an office hours, I'm a product manager at Hospitable. But even before that, I was a customer of Hospitable. I own and self-manage one property up in the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Georgia, and have been a customer since 2022 and joined the team shortly after.
And then I am Brandon. I'm our accountant in residence. And like Emily, I was a customer well before actually starting with Hospitable. So like she said, if you don't know me, I've been focused a lot with the accounting integration that we have, as well as I've probably met many of you in office hours talking about owner statements. So
I see some Georgia people in the chat too. So yeah, let us know in the chat where you're viewing from. And if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end. But let's dive in. Before we really get into the nitty gritty, I want to talk about what we're not going to do today. Today, we are not going to be covering like general company updates. We're not going to talk about our roadmap or upcoming releases, or do like a general company-wide Q&A. Our town halls are a really great avenue for that. So we have one next week, the same day, same time as this. So you can scan that QR code for details of our bi-weekly town halls. We would love to see you there. Today is all about owner management. So this is kind of more of our agenda for the day. We are going to talk about setting up your property manager business in Hospitable, adding owners, configuring your commissions, and using all of the owner management features that unlocks, like owner statements, the owner portal, and our newly released feature, owner payouts. And then towards the end, Brandon's going to join us again and talk about accounting for property managers. It's not technically an owner management feature, but it's something that those of you who manage for owners definitely need and comes included on the Mogul plan. So all of this is included on the Mogul plan, like I said. If you're here participating in this workshop and you're maybe not on our Mogul plan yet and are just checking things out, or maybe you're not even managing for owners today, but you're kind of thinking about it, we definitely recommend that you stick around. We'll show you today how easy it is to get everything set up. We kind of have this like fun internal goal that your very first owner that you manage for, like we'll never know that they're your first owner. We're going to give them a really sleek professional experience and they're going to think you've been doing this for years. So that's really fun. But our Mogul plan also comes with a bunch of AI features that are useful for you even if you're not managing for other owners, and accounting features that people who own their own properties or rent and sublet their properties also need. So that's just a little bit more about our Mogul plan. And without further ado, let's start talking about owner management. So our owner management features are included in the Mogul plan and they're unlocked by creating a property manager business. So with that, you get owner statements and invoices included, a branded owner portal that highlights your company's brand, automated owner payouts, which we just launched last week, and accounting for property managers. So I am going to quickly share my screen and I'm just going to start showing you how to get all of these things set up. Okay, that is working. Awesome. So if you'd like to follow along in your own Hospitable account, you're welcome to do that. I've set up a couple of businesses so that I could have a little bit of a jump start today. But we'll walk you through how to get set up. And if you can't do this today, that's okay. Like Miles said, we're recording. You can reference this later whenever you're ready to dive in. So businesses are found underneath operations. So click on operations, go to my business. And if you don't have a business set up, this will be empty for you, but you can click add a business to set a new business up. So I've already created one for the sake of our workshop. And I'm just going to open it up and kind of walk you through all of the qualities of a business. Now, you're going to be guided through this process in a little bit of a nicer onboarding flow than you'll see today in this workshop. But this gives me like a good opportunity to kind of explain in more depth all of the pieces of a business and what it unlocks for you. So the first thing is simple, your business name. This should align ideally with your business entity. And then we have a business model here. So what we find from a lot of our Mogul customers is that, yeah, you're probably managing for other owners, but most people got started with a property that maybe they owned or they did arbitrage on themselves. So a pretty common scenario is that a single person is actually running multiple businesses, each with their own business model. So we created the concept of a business in Hospitable under operations so that you can kind of organize your properties accordingly. And we're going to unlock the features that you need based on how you're running your business. So for the sake of today's workshop, I'm going to be focusing entirely on a manager business and what that unlocks. But if you also own properties or arbitrage properties, you can set up businesses that hold those properties as well. Next, coming down a little further, we see this bank account section. This is a brand new feature that we released a week ago to support automated owner payouts. So if you haven't already connected a bank account, this will be blank for you and you simply connect your bank account here. This is the bank account that you'd like us to be withdrawing funds from to pay out your owners anytime you publish a statement. You can also choose a default payout date. So it's pretty common that people are paying out their owners maybe by the 15th of every month. But you can select any date here. We don't hold you to this date. You can always schedule a payout earlier or later or on any other day. But this date is kind of what we will push you towards throughout the product. When you're publishing statements, we'll say, hey, you should do this by this date so that you can get the owner paid out on time. And last but not least, we show you the properties that you had selected in the onboarding flow that are a part of this manager business. So I've selected these 3 properties, which I've set up for the sake of our workshop today, which I'm going to pretend I am managing for other owners. Okay, so that's just the general kind of properties tab for the business. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the rest of the time specifically in the Hilltop Mountain Retreat. So I'm going to open this up. And this kind of gives us like an overarching property view of this particular property, who owns it, what commission agreement we're using for it, and all of the relevant statements that have been generated automatically for you for this particular owner. So you can see here, Jerry owns this property, and I have this reservation agreement that started on October 1st, and it doesn't have an end date. This is nice because if you ever create a new agreement with a particular owner, maybe your last one was 12 months and it ended, you can add another agreement period here and make it start on some future date so that you can be just kind of ready to go when a new agreement goes into effect. I'm going to open up this agreement and I'm going to show you all of the different things that can be done in a commission agreement. These are fairly flexible and you can really do a lot with it, but we're always going to kind of make the best recommendation, things that we believe are industry standard, we see most of our users doing, so that you can't really like mess this up. If you've never managed for an owner before, you'll be able to set this up pretty easily. And here I go. I've made a little bit of a mistake because I didn't unpublish something before this. So 1 second, let me unshare. I'm doing this live. Give me a second. I'm almost back. Okay. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so I'm going to come back here. So I'm going to click on this commission. Now that I've unpublished the statement that I had accidentally published earlier, I can now edit this so I can show you what's actually possible. So the first thing we ask you is to give your agreement a name. A lot of people make the mistake of creating one agreement for every single owner, and we don't recommend that. In theory, it would be very nice. I know this isn't always how it works in real life, but it would be great if you could create like your standard commission agreement, or maybe have like 3 of them to choose from. We see a lot of users having like a standard one that's like typical property management services, maybe like a premium agreement where they're charging a little higher percentage and they're also like furnishing the place. And maybe like a light agreement where maybe they're hosting remotely and they're not actually physically going to the property to do maintenance or anything like that. So it's just kind of like future proofing and a lot easier for you to scale if you have some standard agreements to choose from, so that when you're onboarding owners in the future, it's really easy. But that said, we also know that like life is not always that clean. So you can create however many agreements you really need and apply them to a specific property to a specific owner. So we will ask you who receives the reservation payouts. For the sake of our workshop today, I'm going to demo how it works when your company receives the payouts. What this does is we're going to be automatically generating a monthly statement for you. That means you got paid. We're going to give a statement and tell you how much you need to pay the owner. But if things work the other way around for you and the owner gets the reservation payouts and you need to invoice them, select this one and we'll then generate monthly invoices instead. That means they owe you. Next, we ask if you get Airbnb co-host payouts. A lot of our Mogul users started out in property management by becoming an Airbnb co-host. And so for those first owners that they got, they're doing Airbnb co-host payouts. Things are split automatically by Airbnb. And so we need to know about that. If that's your scenario, we'll continue to report Airbnb reservations on those statements or invoices, but we'll simply mark them as paid so that we're not like charging the owner for them again when really they already paid you because Airbnb handled that. So for the sake of today's workshop, I will say no, but if you do that, say yes, and we'll ask you a couple extra questions about how you split that and how it's set up in Airbnb. Okay, next we're going to go to the earnings section. There are a couple different parts of your earnings. There's the commission and there's the fees. So starting with the commission, you're going to tell us, what do you charge commission from? What's recommended is to charge it on the accommodation after any discounts. So that's like the nightly rate that the guest ends up paying. But we see a lot of people charging their percentage on the full payout or even doing something more custom. If you do something custom and you need to select any number of other fees to include in what we call your commissionable base, you can do that here and just pick and choose the fees that you need to select there. I'm going to roll with our default accommodation after discount. And for this particular one, I'll charge 25%. If you need to, and this is part of how you work with your owners, you can set a different percentage for a certain platform if you'd like. We do see some people taking a little bit more, maybe for a direct booking, because they're also putting some marketing dollars behind that or whatever it may be. It's just up to you. We offer that type of flexibility. Next, we ask, how do you want to recognize your commission revenue? So these are a bunch of big words that really just means like, which statement should we put the reservation on? So let's think through an example reservation that maybe checks in today on November 19th and checks out on December 15th. It's a really long one. And it happens across 2 months. So if you would like your statement to be kind of like cut and dry and like a reservation just shows in full on one statement, we would recommend picking check-in date. It's really easy for owners to understand, and that's always great. But if you do a lot of like midterm bookings where maybe people are staying for like 3 months at a time, you could consider prorating that. And what we would then do is that reservation, which goes across 2 months or 3 months, would show on multiple months of statements. And we would just divide the earnings accordingly based on the number of nights stayed in that month. So that's something you should consider, especially if you do a lot of like longer term bookings. I'll go with check-in date. You could also choose check-out date if that's your preference. Okay, now on to a flat fee per reservation. We have many users who have done this, and it's really interesting. A lot of people are doing this just for direct bookings, again, because of the marketing dollars they're putting to get direct bookings. But you can really do this for any reason. Note that this is a fee that's actually charged to your owner, not the guest. So it's not to be confused with like the management fee that some guests are actually paying. This is a fee to the owner that will happen on every single reservation. So something you'd like to charge in addition. I'm not going to do that for our example, but it's there if you need it. Next, commission tax. If you reside in the US, you probably don't need this. But if you're in Canada, if you're in Europe, if you're in probably many other countries, you might need to charge your owner's tax on top of the commission. If so, you can include that, select the tax type, and let us know the percentage. And we'll include a column for that in the owner statement so that the owner is paying those taxes, which we will then pass through to you, and you can remit however you need to. Okay, that was a lot. Now we're on to reservation fees. So remember up here, we decided to charge our commission on the accommodation after discount. But a reservation has many other things that are a part of the total amount you get, right? These are the fees. So cleaning fee, pet fee, extra guest fee, what have you. We also want to know how you split those with your owners. So a lot of people will choose like, no, I'm the manager, I'm going to keep all the fees. Maybe because I pay the cleaner, so I want those cleaning fees to go to me. Or in some scenarios, the owner gets all the fees because maybe the owner pays the cleaner directly. I'm going to choose custom for the sake of our workshop today. I am going to actually say that the owner is going to pay 100% of the host service fee. So this would be like that 15.5% that Airbnb charges for the booking. I want the owner to be responsible for that. Me as the manager, I'd like to earn 100% of the cleaning fee because I pay the cleaner. But my owner actually was hesitant to offer pets or allow pets. And I would like them to actually benefit anytime a pet stays at their property because I want to incentivize them to continue allowing pets. So I'm going to split any revenue from the pet fee 50-50 with the owner because I think it's in our best interest that they are benefiting by allowing pets. So this is just one example of some things that we see pretty commonly. You can also recognize revenue specifically for fees. I'm going to also choose check-in so that it's aligned with everything else. Okay, last but not least, we're almost done with the reservation commission. We ask you who's responsible for remitting any pass-through taxes. So depending on what platform the booking comes from and where you're located, it's possible that the platform is remitting taxes for you, but sometimes they're not. And so we just need to know if there's ever a situation where the platform passes taxes through to you, who's going to remit them. If it's you, the management company, we're going to make sure that that money stays with you on the statement. But if the owner does that, we'll make sure that money goes to the owner on the statement so that everybody has what they need to do what they need to do. Okay, so I'm going to save this. And now, okay, so it's brought me back to this reservations commissions page where you can see I actually have several created. And if I ever need more, I can just click add commission and add another one and associate it to a different property if I need to. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my Hilltop Mountain Retreat here. And we went through this commission, so you guys saw how that was configured. Now I'm going to open up a statement that's in review. You might have noticed that there's an October statement in review, but we just set this up together and it's in November. One thing that we decided to do is just automatically generate the previous month's statement. It's possible that you've already sent that to the owner. You may have already done that manual work, but we want you to be able to see very quickly what a statement will look like and maybe even compare it to the ones that you're doing manually today. So I'll now kind of go through the anatomy of a statement so that you can understand what is happening here. So at the top, we tell you the month, the year, and whether or not it's a statement or an invoice. This one is a statement. We have the property and the address here, but some of this is customizable. I'll show you this in a little bit. And then a box of manager details and owner details. So I'm going to come to this customized box here. And I don't need the property address. That's kind of overkill. And I don't want my personal information to show in the manager box. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide that. And this will update and it will just show my brand information, which, by the way, you can add in settings and it'll take the address away from here. So that's just to illustrate that there are many customizations that you can do here if our default isn't working for you. Okay, now I'm going to come down to the reservations section. Remember, we picked that all the reservations are recognized on check-in. So all of the reservations here are checking in the month of October. And we just show the high-level information so that the owner can understand what you owe them. So for the reservations on this particular statement, you owe the owner $1,712.50. And the full breakdown is here so that they can do the math. They can kind of cross-check. Now, you might look at this and say, this is way more than my owner needs to see. They're going to have a lot of questions, right? So remember, we always have this customized panel where we can open it back up and say, oh, they don't care about the reservation code, but this particular owner, actually the property's on their next door, so they're greeting all the guests. I want to show the first name because they might actually remember those guests. I don't care to show the platform name. That doesn't matter to them. I do want to continue showing cleaning fee and pet fee, so I'll save. And we've just updated that accordingly. Now, anytime you make a customization and save it, that's going to stick moving forward for that particular owner's property. So we'd recommend you don't overthink this. I think sometimes it's really good to roll with our defaults, hear what your owners think, and you can always come back in here and quickly like show another column or hide another column anytime you want. It doesn't have to be like perfect on day one. I'll also quickly show that, remember we said that me, the manager, I need to get the whole cleaning fee. So I see this here, but that pet fee was shared. And so you can actually see on these two reservations, I did have a pet fee and I've split half of that with the owner here. So you can kind of see how that works in practice on the actual statement. Okay, now coming down here, we have the transaction section. So you can add a transaction at any time. I've already added two just to show you. This is where you'll handle any other like expenses or credits that happened in that month. So got paper towels for the owner. I'd like them to reimburse me $89. You can also do credits or reimbursements to the owner. Maybe on your last month's statement that you did manually, there was a mistake. And so you need to add a credit. You want to give them $50 back. You can do that. Again, we'll do all the math for you and let you know what you actually owe the owner at the end of the day. We also have this little just fun ad hoc notes box that a lot of people do just to write a little message to their owners. Okay, let's see. Where am I? So we've reviewed a statement. Okay, next we want to publish the statement and we want to invite the owner to the portal. So I will show that. So first I'm going to go ahead and publish this statement. It's telling me that my owner hasn't set up their bank account, and I'll show you what that means in a little bit. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and publish this. Okay, great. So when you publish a statement, what we do is we like lock in the data. It cannot change anymore because money is going to be moving after this, and we want to make sure that this is set in stone. We do get a lot of questions like, well, what happens if something does change? We'll take care of that on the next statement. So we're always keeping good track of that and making sure that things kind of even out at the end of the day. Okay, oops. I showed you that too soon. Okay, so now I want to go back to the owner portal and show you how to set that up. So under your business, you click on the owner portal tab, and there are a couple of questions we'll ask you. We'll ask you when you want to start, when the data should start in the portal. So I'm selecting October. By default, it lives on owners.hospitable.com. But if you have your own domain set up, which you can do under settings, you can select that so it can live on your own URL that your owners are familiar with, not ours. And this is actually a little sneak peek. We haven't even quite launched this yet, but like probably starting tomorrow, we're going to also be allowing you to email your owners from an email on your custom domain. So any like notifications to those owners will come from like management@yoururl.com or whatever. You can specify what that URL is as long as you've connected that domain to Hospitable. We also have portal permissions here. I will show you all of our default permissions, which is to allow owner stays and everything up next. And you can manage your brand settings here under settings if you need to change out your logo or give a different brand name, or maybe even pick different colors for the portal. Okay, so you haven't invited your owners to the portal yet, but you want to see what does it look like for them. So I'm going to go to my owners tab and I want to check out Jerry. So I'm going to click these three little dots over here and hit preview portal. So we give you the ability to view the portal as your owners will see it at any time, even before you've invited them. So this gives you the opportunity to be like, cool, this looks good. And also maybe to walk your owners through it if they have any questions. You'll see what they see. So on this homepage, they see some KPIs about their property that month and a revenue breakdown. You'll notice we're looking at November. November's not done, so we show that it's not final, but they can go to last month and see how things worked out. They can also view a calendar here. What's really cool about this is all those customizable those customizations that we just made on the statement together are respected here on the calendar too. So I wanted to see or to show the guest first name, not the reservation code. So we do that. All the financials that show here were visible on the statement. So if there's anything that you want to show or hide, do that on the statement, and we will respect that in the owner portal calendar. And if you've allowed them, they can also book their own owner stay. This one is great. It saves people a lot of time. They just simply come here, select their dates. I'll continue through. We already have their information, so it's just confirming it. They can add a note if they'd like. And bam, they've added an owner stay. When they do that, you will get a push notification notifying you that Jerry or whoever has added an owner stay. Okay, now I'm going to come over here to statements. So we had published that October statement together, right? So anytime a statement is published, your owners can see it here. You can download the PDF. They can open it up and look at the details. They can see the note you added them. And you'll notice here that it's prompting them to connect their bank account. It's doing that because you've connected your bank account and you want to pay them next month through Hospitable. So we'll let them know that they need to connect their bank account. They simply follow the prompts here to connect and verify their bank account. We have some help articles we can share with the details of that. And once they've connected a bank account and it's verified, we will actually pay them anytime you publish a statement. So I will show that as well. Let's do this. I'm going to switch over to a different statement that I kind of already have ready. So this is for another kind of fake property that I have where the bank account, the owner has already connected their bank account. So when they're ready to get paid, we will show this status here that says like they're ready to be paid. Like they've connected their bank account. When you publish this, we can actually pay them. There's different statuses here, maybe when their bank account is pending verification or they've not configured, but we'll give you that insight right here. And then when you go to publish it, excuse me, we're going to give you a couple of options. We're going to recommend that you schedule this on that payout date that you configured earlier in your business. What we do is we actually start the process several days before that because paying out takes a little bit of time. We withdraw it from your bank account and then we divvy out all the funds to the owners that need it. So we always recommend this date, but we don't hold you to it. Like I said, you could also schedule it immediately, pick a different date, or pay them off platform if you need to for one other month while you're getting your ducks in a row. I'm going to pay them off platform for this particular example just so I can get this published. And then I will show you what it looks like for that owner. So when they have their bank account connected and you're actually paying statements, when you publish them, they will see a payout status here. So if one of them hasn't landed in their account yet, they'll see that it's scheduled and they'll always kind of have insight into what's actually happening at any given time from within their portal. So our goal is really for them to be able to have all of their questions answered before they have to ask you. And just give them a nice, beautiful place to see how their property is performing and how you're doing as well. Okay, let's see. Did I miss anything? Or shall we go on to accounting? I think that's it. If you have any questions, please put those in the chat. I see several coming through already. In the meantime, we are going to go to Brandon.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll quickly just run through the accounting side of this. It's going to be a little different per person, and so we just kind of want to explain everything. So working through, now that you have a business that's aligned with owner management, we're going to take some time to discuss how your accounting is affected and what Hospitable does for you. So we'll explore a few key areas. We're going to discuss the two types of property managers when it comes to handling statements. So when we say that, there's the ones that handle statements, those who actually collect reservation payouts on behalf of the owners and then pay them out, versus someone that invoices, which means as a manager, the owner will collect reservation payouts and then you'll invoice them on a monthly or so basis. And then we'll also discuss how accounting is being recognized and how it's going to be shown basically in our Hospitable native accounting, and then what we have from a QuickBooks integration concept. So quickly looking at the accounting revenue rec. Basically, we need to understand why we're doing it this way and what it's for. So Hospitable uses the cash-based accounting recognition to simplify your business tracking for both your income and your expenses. So what does that mean? This means that with income, we're actually going to recognize the revenue. So that income, once you actually receive the funds, and similarly, expenses are recognized when you actually pay them. In short-term rental industry, hosts are paid once check-in occurs on or about the day for the processing, the timing on that. And the accounting aligns directly with those payouts, and that's our goal. So by using the cash basis, you're able to actively track the income as it would be earned, and allows you to understand the true cash flow for things such as, how much money do I have on hand from these bookings, and do I have enough funds to cover cleaning services or supplies for any of the properties? So really, it just gives you a true sense of what's available today. And then a bigger piece of this, why we're really focused in, is a lot of taxes are very complex and it can be a lot to manage. And so our goal is really at the end of the year, a lot of taxes are focused on the cash basis of income reporting. Basically, once you receive the funds, that's when you're going to report your taxes. And so we want to align that with that tax reporting to make sure that they align together. So basically, it helps to align with your actual tax returns. And this is a lot more based in the US, of course, but globally it does apply. But it also prevents errors if you're having to accrue and then change, and maybe there's alterations or reporting. So that's kind of where the focus is from the cash basis perspective. Also, excuse me if I cough or sneeze. I've been super sick today for some reason. So kind of just the baseline of what the accounting is. So regardless of what type of property manager you are, the accounting is kind of built on a few just general fundamentals that we're going to be looking at. So really what we're utilizing is the reservation financial data that comes directly from the OTAs. So when I say OTAs, it's Airbnb, Vrbo, or Booking.com, Agoda if that is applicable. But we determine your income by taking that data and building the accounting based on your reservation agreements per that property. We build out your property management commission and the allocation of fees that belong to you from these two sources combined. So in turn, these will tie directly to your owner statement that are being created. So really what we're trying to say is we have these reservation financials, you have a commission agreement, we want to allocate your funds that belong to you and then the funds that belong to the owner in whatever mindset that would be, meaning that they should tie to your owner statements at the end of the day. Also, when there are changes to reservations, so perhaps you have a reimbursement or a refund, you can allocate those adjustments to appropriate category. So let's say you had a reduction of accommodation or a cleaning fee that you had to refund. You can go in and adjust that with the adjustments, and that would align with the accounting the same way it would with your owner statements. And then finally, I know this is a little bit different, but we talk about transactions. They kind of align, same thing a little bit from an expense standpoint, but also you can add additional transactions with their reimbursements or whatnot. So any transaction that you add to Hospitable that's allocated to, let's say, a property or your business, it's going to be included directly with your accounting as well. So then when we look at the property manager types, this is the kind of fundamental of what we really need to focus on. So first we'll do the property managers who are using statements. And that's when I say they collect payouts on behalf of the owner and then they pay them out. Same kind of concept. So your reservation financials are going to be recognized on the day of check-in. As you're receiving the funds, we're going to recognize the revenue to align with that cash basis mindset. And then once those funds, they're actually processed to you. So that's why we're going to recognize all of your revenue around the day of check-in. So then when you collect the reservation payouts on behalf of the owner, we want you to be comfortable knowing that we're actually tracking your accounting accurately and doing it correctly. So what we'll do on top of that is we will go through and we'll allocate the portion of the payout that would be your income versus the owner's income. So very baseline, meaning in basic terms, we recognize your property management and your commission and fees that go directly from those payouts in real time. And then anything that you would collect go into that income bucket while we put the remainder of any of the fees or the remaining of, let's say, the accommodation or any of the additional fees that would be tied to it into a bucket that's basically saying this is due to the owner. I'm going to pay them out. So it would align to that owner statement as well. So then for the transaction Hospitable, we'll also add those as ad hoc charges as income to you on the transaction date, basically as reimbursements, and then it'll decrease that amount that's actually owed to the owner. So this is a really big piece that we always try to focus in on is the concept of marking your statement as paid. And if you're using owner payouts, it actually will do it in real time for you once you pay. So that's great. But basically, the concept is we don't know when you're paying the owner if we see that you do it off platform or you do it through an ACH or whatever that means. So by marking the statement as paid, you're basically telling Hospitable, hey, I did pay the owner, so you need to reduce the amount that's owed to them. And so that's what the concept of marking as paid. And like I said, once you do it through the owner payouts, it will automatically do it. And then you won't have to do anything and it recognizes it for that. So then we got to switch over a little bit to the property manager from an invoice perspective. That means, of course, that the owner is collecting payouts, you invoice them once a month or so, and then they will pay you. So we still are using the cash basis model, except you aren't receiving any of the payouts. So we can only recognize the revenue once you actually receive it. So the biggest thing from this side is unless you mark a statement as paid, and then we move forward in the future to owners being able to pay managers. Right now, until you mark that statement as paid, we have no clue that you were paid. And so you have to make sure that you mark that as paid, and then all of your income is going to be recognized the same way you would as a property manager that sends statements. So your reservation commissions, your fees, and any ad hoc charges as well. I did want to quickly note that we talked about Airbnb co-host payouts. Regardless of what type of property manager you are, if this is tied to your reservation commission, we are going to go ahead and recognize it on the day of check-in as you allocated whatever funds. If they're cleaning fees or a percentage, we go ahead and send it because basically you're telling us I got paid on the day of check-in or the processing timing. So that would align with that. So then oops, I just turned this off. Sorry. Okay. So then switching gears a little bit on what we have for you in Mogul as Hospitable's native accounting. So what you actually have is a real-time profit and loss statement that's directly in your reports, and you can filter by business, property, and date. And this helps you understand, your specific data and your financials. So for each business type, we have built out basically a recommended chart of accounts for you that you would likely need under this business model. And this is holistic for anyone, let's say you've never had to do accounting or you're new to this and you only have 2 properties that you're managing now. It helps you align your accounting. So this is what we would see a baseline if you just started using this. So that's how that's built out. And then we'll still break out the fees such as, property management commission, the ad hoc fees as well. This is specific to me. So this is one of our profit and loss. So we only invoice. So you'll see it's a little different. You won't see as much of what, is tied as like reimbursements as much. I just do invoicing once a month and then they pay us. So that's why you'll see my profit and loss maybe a little different than one who collects a statement. So then we'll still, like I said, allocate all the income accordingly and put those into the right buckets. Also, what we talked about too with the transactions is you're able to actually track your expenses through Hospitable. So if you add your expenses, you can either do a property level or business level. So that's saying, let's say you did get a reimbursement or you spent some funds on supplies for an owner and you got paid back for that or whatnot, you can track that, but you can also track at a business level. So let's say my property management commission, I pay Hospitable once a month for my subscription. That can be tracked on a business level. And then you can actually see, hey, regardless of what I was reimbursed for whatever, how am I doing from that perspective of my business? So you're able to kind of track it that perspective as well. And then this is 100% included with your Mogul plan at no additional charge. And so we just wanted to kind of show like where we are right now. So about 15% of our users are connected to that QuickBooks integration, but about 85% of our users are utilizing the P&L that we already provide. So they can already allocate some of those pieces and have some of that reporting for them in real time without having another integration as well. So I'm going to quickly go over the QuickBooks integration just because it's very in-depth and just want to kind of provide high level. I do a lot of onboardings for these. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. But basically want to give you the concept of what that accounting integration looks like. So basically, Hospitable has a direct integration with QuickBooks Online. Just so you know, it has to be the online software. We do not do any of the desktop software. So it has to be through the online software that we have. And then what Hospitable will do, will create journal entries that are sent directly to QuickBooks, and that will allow you to easily reconcile your reservation payments, payouts, invoice payments, and all of those that you get in an efficient manner, really. So basically, same kind of concept, except it's all going through to QuickBooks. You'll get the same real-time income and expense reporting as it aligns with your management type. Same level, you can track your business and property level transactions and expenses, and then you would be able to send those to QuickBooks as well. What QuickBooks utilizes is a little bit different. They have what they call as classes, and the two highest tiers, there's 4 tiers, allow you to use classes. And we use classes as basically, just think of it as a tracking mechanism. So if you basically say, I have this property that's under this business, we'll track that for you to say, hey, every single income that came from this specific property that you got commission on, it'll track it to that property the same way with business level. And so that's the same kind of concept that we have, except it's required to utilize the tracking in QuickBooks. Moving forward, property managers will, with statements, you automatically allocate the amount due to the owner, which is a little different. So basically, like I said, we throw that extra amount that is due to the owner from each payout into a bucket. We'll automatically allocate that amount to the owner. You can tie the owner in there, and you'll see basically a liability account for you that says you owe this to the owner once a month. Same concept. We do have the developed recommended chart of accounts that would be mapped to any applicable accounts you have in QuickBooks. So what you can do is we have the recommendations we have, and we just say, hey, we would suggest you send these over to QuickBooks. You can either change them. Let's say you've been using QuickBooks for 2 years and you have all these accounts specifically named. You're able to go ahead and map those existing already to the chart of accounts we suggest. So then you will have a seamless transition. It's all provided there. You don't have to move any of the funds from, moving from a different account that you had in the prior if you used it. It gives you a lot of flexibility to choose what you want. And then with that, basically, you would sync the data to the desired start date all the way back to January 1 of 2025 and then onward. So that's kind of what we have from the sync perspective. I do want to know that we said, the accounting connection is allowed for you. It's in QuickBooks. It's built into each business for Mogul. However, you do have to pay for a separate subscription with QuickBooks to be able to utilize it. If you do have multiple property management businesses or business types, you can use one connection for each of those, and you can basically create one QuickBooks account tied to all your property management and still track that same way. But you would still need some type of subscription for that. So that's kind of high level QuickBooks. There's a lot more to it, but that's kind of where I wanted to align that with. I think that's all I have from an accounting perspective. I'm sure there's many questions, but
excellent. Okay, thanks, Brandon. So we have several questions already. So if you haven't gotten a chance to ask the question in the chat that hasn't been answered yet, please ask in the chat, and we'll bring a couple of the questions up on the screen and start answering them. While you're doing that, you should join us in the community if you're not already there. So you can scan this QR code. It's going to take you to a community post about this particular workshop where you can give feedback on the workshop, ask any questions that maybe we aren't able to get to in case we can't finish, and just meet other hosts and meet our team. We're all very active in there. There's like cool local groups where you can meet other hosts in your area, and it's a really great place to be. So join us in the community. And then if you're not on Mogul yet and you're interested in learning a little bit more than we've covered today, you're invited to book a call with our customer success team. You can scan that QR code. It'll bring you to a calendar where you can book some time, and they can talk with you a little bit more specifically about your business and how Mogul can actually help you. Today we've been pretty general, but our customer success team will get more specific. Okay. I think we should dive into some Q&A now. What do you think, Brandon?
Let's get it.
Okay, I'll bring a couple. Let's see. Ooh, this is an interesting one. Okay, so it says, does Mogul now? Oh, Leroy's here too. I should invite Leroy. I mean, introduce Leroy. I can't talk. So Leroy is one of the engineers on our Mogul team who builds all of these things. So hi, Leroy. Thanks for joining.
Hey, everyone.
Cool. Okay, so does Mogul now connect to our bank to pay out, say, cleaners and handymen? Okay, good question, Lydia. Almost. So a couple weeks ago, we released a cleaner marketplace where you can connect your bank account and you can find a cleaner and pay that cleaner. We've heard a lot of feedback since then that you'd like to pay your own cleaner or your own handyman. So we're kind of taking that feedback in stride, and we'll work on this, but today it cannot. But we'll keep you posted. I would say join our town halls. That's the best way to learn about what our future is looking like. Okay, let's see. This is probably, this might be a Brandon question. In order to be co-host and do this, are we required to be part of a brokerage or have a real estate license?
That is actually a very, very good question. So, a lot of changes are still consistent, but you definitely want to check with your local jurisdiction and your state jurisdiction. Some do require that any type of co-host as a short-term rental perspective. If you are collecting on behalf of the owner payouts, you would need some type of brokerage and trust accounting that's built in. But definitely check; it's going to be different for every location, and so you'll definitely want to look into the local and the state jurisdiction laws for those specifically to determine if that is applicable for you or not.
Thank you. All right, next, a question from Robert. Is there any chance that metrics will be added to the owner's portal in the future? Okay, yes, there's a chance. There's a good chance. So since we released the portal, I think it was in June, that's some of the first feedback that we've heard, and it is something we would love to do. We also really needed to improve our metrics product first. And so I invite you to join next week's town hall where you'll be able to see what we have up our sleeve for that. But yeah, there's not like a specific timeline I can give for when you can add metrics or customize metrics in the portal. But I think our idea is that we'd love for you to have more flexibility there, maybe build your own dashboards for the portal or share specific KPIs for a particular owner in the portal. So I'm sorry, that's not super specific, but we'll continue to share timelines as they solidify. Okay. Here's one from Simone. Can we manually add other expenses to the statement by chance? Yes. Let me quickly share my screen again. How do I get this out? There we go. I didn't really demo this in full, but operations, my business transactions, you can come here to add all of your transactions. You'll see here a bunch of mine. You can actually say that a transaction is associated with a business, maybe like you've paid a software expense as a business, or you can associate it with a specific property. You can also set up recurring transactions. So maybe it's a monthly utility bill that's always the same. So you only have to add that once. So yes, the idea is that you're adding your transactions in Hospitable all the time, and we'll put them on the statement that's most relevant for you. Okay, let's find another question. Might be another Brandon question from Laura. So if the owner is an LLC with more than one member, how do you recommend paying them?
So that's like very specific type of question, only because I don't want to give you a straight answer of this is exactly what you should do. I don't want to say like exact what I would do. If the owner is an LLC with more than one. So generally what I have done personally, just so you have know, as a property manager and an owner, is we generally put everything into an LLC, and then that's how we move it out. And that it basically is built around the business. And that's what we've kind of done with Mogul, is building those pieces around having a business. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an LLC, but kind of that concept that it all kind of ties to the same, those properties tie to the LLC, and that's kind of where everything's built around. So if you have more than one member and you have, multiple properties with that member, or you just have one, creating a different LLC and pulling it through that, I think is what generally is recommended, but there's not really necessarily 100% a right or wrong way, but that's generally what we've seen a lot of users do is around more of the LLC.
Cool. I also want to add one thing that's kind of related to this. We have a project in the works right now that's kind of taking a look at how we built out owners under the hood, if you will. And we're going to be restructuring that a little bit to give you a little bit or a lot more flexibility. Right now, it's very cut and dry. You have a property, it has an owner. But it's not always that clean in real life business, right? A lot of times your owner or your property is owned by two people, 20% or something. Or maybe the owner sells their property and then you manage it for the new owner too. Maybe your owner wants to get paid out in a different bank account for every business because of how they have their businesses set up. So we're going to be working on a project. We're starting it very soon, where we're going to be giving a lot more flexibility there and giving your owner the power to do what they need to do within the portal to actually give their taxpayer information, maybe add other users if they want to add their business partner, define different bank accounts per property and stuff like that. So I think some of this will become possible too, and the owners can be in charge where it makes sense. Okay. Gabby asked a good question. They said, is this only for direct bookings or everything connected to the platform? So it's for everything. And this is actually, I had a great conversation with a customer last week who said, well, I'm doing Airbnb co-host payouts and that's all I do because Airbnb handles it all for me. And I'm hesitant to list my owners' properties on other platforms because I don't know what to do from there, right? This is really designed for people who are in that scenario, who need to kind of go to the next level. We'll take care of it for you. So list on all the other platforms. We'll create the statements for you. We'll handle those payouts. We can kind of help you scale from there. So the statements and invoices show bookings regardless of the platform, including manual bookings, direct bookings, owner stays, all the things. All right, Nancy Page, hi, asked, is there a way to add receipts? Yes, okay. When you're creating a transaction, you can upload an attachment to that transaction. A lot of people will do receipts. A lot of people maybe will do like proof. So maybe they're charging the owner because, you know, they fixed, I don't know, something broken, and they'll attach a photo of the thing now fixed. So any attachment that you add to the transaction will be included with the statement for the owner to see. So you can do that.
And I'll just quickly add, just because I know you push, just like for QuickBooks purposes, if that's the point. If you do tie a statement, so you can put an expense in, there is a sync with accounting, which basically sends it to QuickBooks. The only thing is we do not send the actual transaction. If you have a receipt with it, you'd still have to tie that in QuickBooks. We will just send the journal to QuickBooks for you.
Perfect. Good clarification. Okay, we have a really complicated question from Antonia. There we go. Okay. This has been a very hot topic for the past couple of weeks, and we will do our best to explain it. So the question is, we have our reservation commission set up just like I showed earlier, but a percentage of our cleaning fee is going to the owner. This was never an issue till the new Airbnb host fee. Okay. I am going to ask Cameron, if you're here in the chat, to please post a link to our community post with more details, because I may not be able to do this justice right here. However, I'll try. So on October 27th, the Airbnb service fee changed. Now all hosts pay the entire service fee of 15.5%. That 15.5% is taken from everything, including the cleaning fee, including the pet fee, including your nightly rate, including your linen fee. Airbnb takes it off of everything. And so we took it as our responsibility to make sure that you didn't lose money during this change. So we marked up all your pricing for you. And we also applied a one-time increase on all of your fees. So if your cleaning fee was 100, we upped it to 118 because the increase needed to be 18.34% for the math to work. Just trust me on that. And then we decided that on the owner statement, we're going to report those fees net of the service fee. So if your guest paid $118 on a cleaning fee, you actually get 100, okay? And then you might be asking, well, why is the owner getting some of that? We felt that, and we actually heard this feedback from many of you, that it didn't make sense to have the owner paying the service fees already, and then also have them pay the manager for a cleaning fee, which is inflated only to offset service fees. So we're giving that little difference back to the owner, crediting it back to them. So it's very difficult to kind of understand without looking at the actual statement and walking through it. But this is still aligned with how you have your reservation commission agreements set up. The math does make sense, but it's kind of difficult to explain. So please, if Cameron posted that link in the chat, go there and share your feedback. This is the first month that people are seeing this happen on their statements because it applies to any reservation booked after October 27th. So you'll continue to see it, but we do remain open to your feedback for sure, because we understand it's a big change.
And then I'll just quickly add. So as part of this, I know a lot of users were saying, okay, well, let's say I charge $100. I didn't up my cleaning fee. And so now I'm only getting, whatever percentage, the 85. I've helped build out a spreadsheet for our support team to help you with. So if you say, hey, what number do I need to get to make sure I stay at $100 of cleaning fee? We've helped build that out for you. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to support and they can help, distinguish, hey, this is the number you should be, applying to the reservations to be able to maintain that same cleaning fee that you were doing versus otherwise. So
yep, good clarification. And then Nancy Page asked a follow-up, isn't the nightly rate adjusted to cover the increased host fees? Yes, it is, but also the fees were increased because Airbnb is taking their service fee off of everything. So it's increased in both places. But I will say the increase that we applied to your fees was a one-time thing, and you now have full control. So if you want to go into your property and the pricing and the fees tab, you can totally make any changes that you want. Just keep in mind that Airbnb and other platforms is going to take their service fee from the fee too. So make sure that you put a number that allows you to net what you need to cover those costs. Okay. Let's do one more question, unless any more pop up in the next couple of seconds. This is a good one. So Aaron asked, what if you have QuickBooks? Is the P&L drawing from QuickBooks or from Hospitable?
yeah, so really good question. So basically what we do is we utilize all of your reservation financials directly from the OTA. So from Airbnb, Vrbo, we then push that data into the P&L and to the QuickBooks. So basically we don't pull anything from your QuickBooks and we don't determine any of that from that to be able to determine your P&L. We're utilizing directly what comes from your reservation financials and what you add into a statement if you add expenses or transactions as well. So just pointing from that perspective is all of those things are going to be tied directly to a reservation. So each reservation will go into its own little bucket and it will be, based on check-in. So if you use QuickBooks, we will send a journal entry for each reservation, not as a lump sum. Sometimes you see payouts as, multiple properties in one. And so that's kind of the concept, is that we look at everything on a true source of data, which is from those reservation financials. So completely separate, and Hospitable pushes both. It's the same data, just gets pushed directly from that.
Cool. And okay, we're going back to our previous topic one more time, but it's a great question. Sam said, well, but Airbnb doesn't take 15.5% off the cleaning fee paid to co-host, right? Because it says payout equals flat fee plus percentage. So this is interesting because Airbnb took a different decision than we did in this case. And it actually results in your owner paying you more, which is not necessarily what you want, right? That's going to make your owners upset, and it's not necessarily in line with your agreement. So if you're taking Airbnb co-host payments and you've set that you get the cleaning fee, Airbnb gives you the cleaning fee that the guest paid, regardless of the service fee that they did apply to it. So that means that the owner is kind of double dinged for that service fee in that case. So if this is how you have it set up in Airbnb and your owners are asking you questions, that could be why. Again, if you're taking Airbnb co-host and you're using our statements, we're just going to mark those as paid on the statement. We'll show what was paid out, but that might actually be an interesting situation where you could see, this is how it works for Airbnb co-host versus how it works for other things where that's not necessarily taken into account. So it's a good question. We believe that the way Airbnb is doing it is actually hurting your owners. They're paying a higher fee than is needed to you. Okay. I think that's all the questions that we have in the chat, or all the ones that we were mostly able to answer. Let's see. Okay, I see a couple of other questions that are a bit unrelated to the topic, but I do want to encourage everybody to please go to the community. I'm trying to get this question off. How do I do it? There we go. Go to our community, tell us what you think. Get feedback on this workshop. Any other questions you want to ask can be asked there. Other hosts might jump in, or our team might jump in as well. I think that's it. I don't have any closing words. Does anybody else? Miles, you normally do the closing words. Oh, he's here.
You can do it, Emily.
Miles, is this workshop recorded that people can see it somewhere?
Excellent segue, Brendan. Yes. So thank you everyone for joining today. If you do want to watch the recording back, you can come back to the exact same link and you'll be able to watch the recording here. You can jump to any part you want. You'll be able to review everything again. And obviously, yes, if you go ahead, scan the QR code as well, you can ask us any follow-up questions there. And hopefully we see you on our town hall next week as well. I'm going to go ahead and bring up that QR code. So please do scan that if you want to hear about our latest metrics news. Cool. Okay. Thank you very much to our hosts, and thank you very much everyone for joining.
Thanks, everyone.